Okay, we're ready.
Teresa's on. She's on.
All right, I'd like to welcome those who are viewing. No one's in the audience, but those who are viewing to the Library Board of Trustees meeting for September. All right, so we'll take a quick roll call here. Kim,
Here.
Shauna,
Here.
and Teresa. Teresa?
Here.
Okay, hi Teresa. And I think I'm here. And I know Jandy's here, so we're all good.
Have we formally had the discussion about,
I didn't know there was supposed to be a formal.
I don't know if there is such for acknowledgement that.
I think we could do it in an acknowledgement now.
We acknowleded him last time, but
Oh, we did? Okay, perfect.
thanked him for his,
Yeah, that was just a
yeah,
question.
and certainly want to acknowledge Bob's contribution, Scott's contribution to our board while he was on it. Gonna miss him a lot, and wish him good luck when he finally makes the move. I think it's very quick now to his new location, so. Great. Okay, so, I'll take a motion if everyone's had a chance to review the minutes, to approve the minutes as they are written.
I move to approve the minutes as written. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's, they're good to go. All right, Jandy, do we have anybody online?
I'm sorry, could we make a change to the agenda?
Oh, I should have asked for that first, yeah.
Forgot to add our discussion on the quarterly report.
Okay,
So could we add that to the end of new business?
end of business, library. Got it. Any other changes that anybody would like to amend or add, delete from the agenda? Okay. So I guess we are good to move on. All right, citizen comments. Is there anybody online that would like to make a comment?
I don't have anyone online. We'll give an opportunity at the end of the meeting if anyone pops on.
Okay. Thank you. Then we are on to our city administrator, Mr. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know that I have too much to brief. As you know, we're underway with the library design and construction project. And so we're toward the tail end of the programming phase of the project, and we'll be briefing the city council in a workshop that is scheduled for September 17th. I think Jandy's probably going to get into some more detail on that. But that will be our opportunity to kind of share with the council the results of all of the public data gathering that occurred both through various surveying tools plus the open house, and then talking with the council about the next steps of the project to include putting a preliminary budget in place for the design and construction phases, which will come after that. So that's an exciting development. We're looking forward to having that conversation and getting council's feedback and presenting all of the very interesting, enlightening feedback that we received from the public through that programming phase. So that's where we are with the project. Beyond that, I'm obviously welcome any questions. I don't want to overstep anything that you're planning to cover in your briefing later in more detail, but to the extent that I can answer questions and clarify that, I'd happily do that.
Anybody have questions for Mark? I only have one question, Mark. Will that be a 6 p.m. Workshop, or will it be a workshop during the council meeting?
Unfortunately, the 6 p.m. slot is dedicated to something else, so it'll be at the 7 o'clock workshop, along with 2 other workshops. So
Buckle up.
yeah, the 17th meeting has the makings of a long
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, got it. All right, thanks, Mark. All right, Friends of the Library.
I wasn't able to attend the meeting last month. I was in Alaska.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to be there either. So, Jan, were you there?
Yes, I was.
Can you shed any light on anything that is developing or happening there?
I know that so the biggest news I would say is, Arlene Fisher and her husband, I'm blanking on the last name, have volunteered their services for the soiree. So they owned a barbecue catering company that participated in a lot of those like barbecue contest challenges. They were judges for a bunch of barbecue contests. And so they submitted not a report. Basically, they have offered their services for the soiree and they are gonna make the barbecue pulled pork sandwiches and the coleslaw. And they are donating the food,
Nice.
so the friends don't have to pay anything for that. So they brought a bunch of photos, they gave a presentation to the friends. I think it's gonna be delicious and will hopefully help us to bring in a little bit more money next year for the soiree.
Yeah,
So I thought that was really exciting and very touched that they donated
yeah, that's great.
their services like that. So that was a big thing that happened at the meeting. There was also discussion on the upcoming book sale, which will be in November. I think it's like a week later this year, just because like Thanksgiving falls like a week later
I
also.
was gonna say, it's usually a week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so it still is, but
Yeah.
it still feels like it's still like a week
Got
later,
it.
than it has been in previous years. And the Friends just formed their, budget committee as well as their officers committee to select officers for next year and then also go over the library budget for next year.
Thank you, Jandy.
I think that was everything.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Okay. All right, City Council. I have not attended any of those recently either. So.
Yeah, I have,
Donna?
yeah,
Right?
so at the August 20th meeting, we had asked, the city council to approve a letter requesting support from the the Washington State Department of Commerce, and that was approved. And then, are you gonna talk about that letter later?
We can do it right now.
Okay, and then Jandy got confirmation that we are being recommended by the Department of Commerce to be added for like almost $950,000 to be added to the budget. That we won't know until late 2025 if it is added into the budget, so we can't count on it until then, but it is being recommended to be put into the budget for approval, which is super, super exciting.
Yes.
I think it's amazing that we move forward and we're able to do that. And during that same meeting, the Parks and Art Committee had talked about library art in the new library building. And so that's in the building design. So I think probably the architects and the project committee is will probably take that into consideration.
Yeah, so I think the plan is at the meeting next week to discuss having the library kind of be a pilot project where 1% of our budget would go to public art. And if that's the case, then that money will be set aside into an account for Parks and Arts to work with us on, incorporating public art into the new library, which I think would be amazing.
Are they talking about 1% of the budget for the development of the library to go towards the public art? Is that what this?
So it would be, I think, construction costs for the library. So depending on whatever the council determines.
So whatever that final number is for building out the library, 1% would go for public art.
Yeah.
That's my understanding that. I'm just trying to understand it correct. Yeah, okay, got it. I know the state of Washington for any new buildings, you have to have a certain percent. I think it's I can't remember if it's 1 or 2%, but.
Alaska has that law as well.
Yeah.
And so, for state buildings,
Right.
1% for art, and, just, there are some beautiful pieces in the school, at the schools, they brought art, there's usually a committee that,
That
you know,
works together to
Yeah.
determine what the article would look like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, and it would be great if we could have some really good discussions about some art that is local
Yes.
and represents the area. Maybe the history, maybe indigenous peoples, there's a lot of
Yeah.
different options that it could be that I think would be really cool with the library.
So if I can interject, just to add some clarity so that we don't get confusion circulated, more than it sometimes already is. So we had the preliminary conversation with the council about the wider, public art funding mechanism. And so we just kind of covered the landscape of possibility. And they, through that initial discussion, seemed to prefer a formula that was based on revenue versus like a project-based percentage of some kind. And so they didn't make a final decision, but what they did ask for staff to do is to come back with several recommendations based on that preference or those stated preferences. So I think what we had originally proposed for the library project anyway, regardless of how that conversation unfolded, was that this would be kind of a pilot. And so it may make some sense to build that into just the overall project proposal, assuming that it's gonna be some revenue-based calculation, and just kind of ask for authorization, I guess is the best word, to pilot that concept in this project. And we would have to figure out what that looked like in detail, but they seem to prefer a revenue-based calculation versus a project expense-based calculation.
What is
Could
that
you
mean,
clarify that
revenue-based
a little
for the
bit when you say
library?
revenue?
So, yeah, so instead of, so for example, the most common, by far, the most common way that cities handle this is like you described, right? They say 1%, 2%, some percentage of a capital project is dedicated for the installation of public art.
Right.
And so that's an expense-based method because you're tying it to the construction budget of whatever the project is. In this case, they would say, and again, we haven't reached a final decision yet, but a revenue model would say, I'm gonna carve out 0.5 cent of the property tax to go to public art. And so it would be a number that was derived from that calculation that then would go to fund the installation of public art that wouldn't necessarily have to be tied to a capital project. It could be,
Got it.
but it wasn't necessarily tied to that.
Got it. I heard that and I was thinking revenue of the library.
Right, no.
There's no
Yeah.
budget then.
So it's kind of like each year, if this were to work, the Parks and Arts would get this percentage of money into a pot, and then they could use it for public art
wherever they want.
wherever they wanted.
I
Kind of,
I would stop short of saying wherever they wanted. The other side of this, and if you go back and watch the workshop, we purposefully said, we're not gonna talk much about implementation, although implementation is a very important part of this. And so usually what happens is that the group that's responsible for implementing, in this case, it's the Parks and Arts Commission, would need to, have some kind of master plan, right? And then you implement your plan. And so usually what happens is you're looking out some number of years, and they already have some vestiges of this, because they look out multiple years in their, I think they call it their strategic plan. But council would need to adopt that, right? They would need to vote to say, yes, we agree with this plan. And then the funding would just go to implement the plan. And so, of course, like anything else, you can make changes within those years as new developments occur. But that's usually how that happens. You're not just putting money into an account for use in whatever way, right?
there's a plan.
Right,
in
exactly,
place,
yes.
Yeah, I think that would work for what we're looking for regardless, you know?
And then, at the September 6th meeting, Jandy gave an update on the library design and construction.
I can't hear very well. Sean.
Sorry, on the September sixth meeting, Jandy gave, an update on the library, the design and construction project, and, presented the timeline and the conceptual layouts, which were also, they were at the, farmer's market, on the table there for community members to see, and then at the September 5th library open house for community input. And between Mark and Jandy, they talked about, what the drivers for the costs and the layouts were, optimizing what's already in there as far as electrical and plumbing and what the floor plan is, so that we didn't have to put into a lot of the budget into moving those things around.
Great. All right. That's good. Any questions for Shauna or anything about city council?
And then on top of, then last night, there was also the transparency, was it a workshop, open house for transparency. I wasn't able to attend, I was on a flight back from Seattle.
Great food.
Yes. I think everyone's gonna be talking about that food.
Yeah, they did a great job on that.
Good job, Mark.
Yeah.
Tate.
And we considered the fact that you were going to be absent, and so there's some leftovers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and jump on that invitation.
Word by Brit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man,
I've seen lots of
it was
ads.
well done.
Nice.
Well done.
Do you know what the estimate of attendance was? It felt good.
If you include, the council members or the panelists, we had about 55.
Huh.
At the highest point, people were, drifting in and out, but we had as many as 55.
Well, and that's, like, I wasn't expecting it to even be that high just because of the timing of the debate and everything else, so that's great.
Yeah, and we heard that quite a bit, and that was an unfortunate
Yeah.
scheduling that we had already said.
Yeah.
I wish that they would have consulted us before they picked the debate time.
Yeah. Should have sent out an email. All right, so Jandy, now you're on for the library director's report.
Okay, so I had planned to talk about some summer reading numbers, and then I had planned to talk about the budget. I have the summer reading numbers in the quarterly report that we're gonna go through, so I'm gonna skip that for now and just talk to you guys about the budget for next year. So I had to submit my budget to Kyle on Friday, and so I wanted to go through my proposal with you guys so that you could see it as well.
Last Friday?
Yes. Sorry, I'm waiting to see it on the screen. It's really teeny tiny, so I'm gonna try and zoom in. Zoom in prior.
While Jandy's bringing that up, I won't be able to attend the city council meeting next week. My dad's going through radiation treatment, so I'm flying or something.
Okay, so I wanted to go through this with you guys, and point out some things. One is that we are bumping up our book budget quite a bit for us. So last year I had requested 55,000. This year we have bumped it up to 66,000. That is due to increased costs from Baker and Taylor on books in general. During COVID, it didn't raise, but with inflation, all of our book prices have increased. There's also an increase in Washington Anytime Libraries, of course, because their ebooks are going up and usage is really good for ebooks right now. We also each year, we have started the last 2 years making a CIN contribution. So we're making a contribution to the Idaho ebook collection as well. So I do $3,000 to them. And then we are also starting a Library of Things budget. So we're having our own specific line item. We're just putting $1,500 in that account right now. Because as you know, without the new library, we don't have very much space. But we wanted a set line item of where we can draw from as we see things that we want to purchase for that collection, that we can start doing that. Right now, it's been kind of just coming out of Michaela or I's book budget, which is fine, because that's the account that it would come out of, but we just want our own line item, our own funds set aside for that. That's something that we think will increase with the new library.
So, question,
Yes,
so we don't have a line item for the library things right now.
so we have a books line item,
Right,
and so that's where it will come out of. Basically, we're just setting aside a certain pot of money that we're gonna use.
yeah,
for the library things.
I got that part.
Yes.
Do you think it would be wise if we're going to really establish a library of things that we might want to think about establishing a line item for the library things?
I don't know that, so a lot of these line items are like a bars code, and I don't know that we need a bars code for library things, because it's still out of our collection budget. But it's kind of like in our books, we'll have a separate spreadsheet that's devoted just to that,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So it's
that
part of
makes
the collection.
Yeah, part of the collection.
it's part of the
budget, yeah.
collection, I get that, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you,
Got it.
do you want to mention the way we're treating that in the priority-based budgeting model?
Yes, so it is one of our priorities in our priorities-based budgeting, is we have a specific program, thank you, I was gonna say line item, not the right word, but we do have a specific program for the library of things collection, so in the future, as we're talking to council, it's something where we can show it as a priority, and we can kind of give them a program cost of, this is our library of things program, this is how much it costs to implement this and provide it. And then as we're looking at, statistics throughout the year, we can say, we're not funding it enough, or we're overfunding it, we're not getting very much usage from it, and be able to have a good discussion with council about it, where they're able to really see the costs of different programs.
Got it.
Are there good resources out there from other libraries as far as these are most checked out library things?
So that's what we've gone through so far. As far as CIN, is Michaela has kind of taken on this as one of her projects, and she has been watching usage. And so last year, when we started establishing this budget with some friends' monies, that's what we did, is we went in and saw what the most high usage items were for CIN and some of our patrons in general, what they were bringing in the most from those other libraries for us.
Got
So it's not a perfect system, because there might be things that are maybe too big, or there might be something limiting with them, but that's how we have taken a look at it so far. It's just usage.
Great.
So one other question, Jandy, the $3,000 to CIN, is that an amount that they establish or we establish that we're going to chip into their
So it's
how
something,
do we arrive at that, I guess, on that?
how I got that number is looking at a couple other libraries of our size within CIN and what their contribution was. And looking at our budget and just figuring out what was the best. But there's Ponderay County and another library that also donate $3,000 a year, and so that's what we decided to go with.
Okay.
It's something where,
It's not a requirement, I guess that's what I'm asking.
no, it's not a requirement, but something that I felt like was important with it is Community Library Network is one of the largest donators to the CIN ebook collection, because they have, one of the largest populations, and because they're having kind of a financial hardship right now. I know that they aren't donating as much, and I didn't want our patrons to see a huge decline in the books that were available through CIN. So that's why we decided to jump in. We made a donation the end of 2023, and then this year in 2024, and then we'll do it again in 2025. So just trying to help out a little bit more.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show you guys, that is not really reflected in the budget, but I think I did mention it to you guys, a few meetings ago, is we are changing up some of the databases that we're subscribing to for 2025. I've looked into it more and, we're getting some demos, but we are planning at this point to go with Canopy Streaming and, Mango Languages. Canopy Streaming is obviously a streaming app on your TV for, shows. They have a lot of movies. They also do have like the full BBC collection, which we thought our patrons would be really interested in. They have a, let's see, BBC was one that we thought they would like. And they also have a kids streaming app that's mostly like PBS titles, that kids can get. And there was one other collection that we really liked. But basically we're doing kind of a pilot with them for this year. And so our total cost is $2,000 and we have access to everything, in the collection. Each of our patrons basically get 20 tokens a month for titles that they're able to see. That basically is the equivalent of like, 20 titles or something. And then we can see what our usage is for this year. And then the following years, we can either ramp up or scale back. But the thing I like about Canopy is that there is a cap. So it's one of those things where if somebody goes nuts on Canopy streaming and just watches, 24/7 for a whole year, at some point it will cut them off and it won't, charge us astronomically. But it is kind of set up as a pay-per-use, type style. So I do like that because if nobody uses it, we're not gonna be charged astronomically. But if somebody does use it too much, there's that balance. The other thing, is,
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So, we're charged per usage, is that how it's worked, per patron usage?
yeah, it's for patron usage, but each patron kind of gets 20 tickets a month.
So
if
they
that makes
can't go
sense.
over 20 tickets a month,
Yes,
got it.
so it's just, with some streaming models, it's just pay for use and it's just,
Got
it is what it is. So I kind of like that they limited it. And so you kind of have that balance there.
This is a cool service. I just, pulled it up. It's
Yes,
for universities and libraries to give their patron streaming services to movies and.
yeah,
That's
it's
pretty
a lot of, it's
Yeah.
some, new hot movies, some documentaries. And then, there's like a BBC collection, there's a kids collection, there's a couple other collections. But I think it'll be good. When I looked at Canopy 10 years ago for our university library, it was a little bit smaller and was only for documentaries. So they have definitely expanded their collection
Standard collection.
in the last 10 years. And it's also, obviously there'll be an app on their TV. So they'll sign in with their library card and then it will keep their account open and they're able to see what they want to see. We're also subscribing to Mango Languages. We had Mango Languages about 5 years ago. They have now updated it to where they have an app also. And so patrons can access it on their phone. They have a million different languages. They also have the ability to add like sign language, which we thought we might look at for future years. And it has kind of like a video components and it just looks really good. Previously, when we had it, it was just, on the laptop. And I think a lot more people now, with like Duolingo and that sort of thing, want something on their phone that they can, click on, do their 15-minute lesson for the day and then move on. So we're really excited. Like I said previously, our databases haven't been getting good usage the last year, so we're trying to switch it up. And so we feel like we're headed in the right direction with this.
How do our patrons find out about these different things?
So we have it on our website. What we're planning to do in January is do a huge push on social media and then in the library with different flyers and bookmarks and cards and just really try to get the word out. I'm also hoping to do a podcast with David here at the city and talk about, what's new at the library for this year. And then also, push the streaming app, push the language app, and also push our new library app. So
Do we also provide resources to the schools, like a flyer or something like, if your kid's taking Spanish, these resources are.
I don't know that we do, but that would be another good thing, would be to have Michaela go into the schools and be like, especially, like at Ridgeline,
Yeah, especially for the language.
Selkirk, on the languages, and be like, hey, if you're taking Spanish, come use our free Spanish app. That's a really good idea, so I think that's another great avenue. So our budget is also going up from 6,800 to 9,000 next year because we are implementing our Aspen Lita library app. So this year it will go up 2,000, and then in following years it'll only go up $1,000, which is great because I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. To purchase Aspen on your own for a library app is $24,000, and then $12,000 each year, which is, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's nice that with CIN, we're splitting it between, 20 libraries, and so for us, it's $2,000 for the first year, and then $1,000 for the year following. That's much more affordable for us and for some of the smaller, tiny libraries in our system. But I think that'll be great. That's gonna roll out the end of October. So we're gonna start letting people know beginning of October, hey, this is coming. And then as it gets implemented at the end of October, start helping people, download it on their phone if they need help, or just give them a flyer and be like, hey, download this app. It will give you, a digital library card. It'll also save your info. You can sign in, place holds. You can browse things a lot easier. It also gives us the ability to push out little notifications about things. If it's like the open house, we could be like, push out a notification. Hey guys, did you know there's an open house? Along with just, highlighting different collections within the library, on their phone. It's Halloween, have Halloween carousel of books going or something. So I'm really excited, and I think it's something our patrons will really appreciate and use. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I am upping our training budget $1,000 for next year. We're looking at getting the Brian Dowd homeless training. We've been seeing a little bit more transiency and a little bit more of our unhoused patrons in the library. And so he does a really great training for your staff on how to interact and offer resources to these individuals, especially if they're having maybe a mental health challenge. Help your staff feel confident in being able to help assist them, but also on the other hand, helping those patrons to feel welcome and like they're welcome in the library and that they're feeling respected and appreciated. So it has multiple trainings that they do on all things customer service and maybe dealing with difficult customers and that sort of thing. But that's the main reason that I had looked into it initially. So that's something I'm looking at for our staff to do next year. And there'd be a training once a quarter. So I think that's something that'll be really worthwhile for our staff.
I agree.
I agree with that.
The final thing I wanted to mention is we, in October also, are getting from Envisionware a new self-check system to try out. So this is one that I saw when I went to the directors conference. It's through Envisionware, who does our paper printing. They do our point of sale our point of sales, credit card, everything like that. So we're very familiar with them and using their products. So they're bringing it in. We get to try it for 2 weeks. If we like it, it's something that we can go forward with and purchase for 2025. So this would be 2 new self-check units. Our units are 10 years old, so I'm hoping it goes well. They're a little bit more user-friendly and look a little bit more modern. So if it goes well, we'll go forward with purchasing those in 2025. And then also, obviously, we could bring those to the new library once we get in there. So that's some stuff that I'm looking at with our budget for next year.
So what's your total proposal for our budget?
Let's see, I think it's 758. And last year it was 716. I'm thinking that's what these numbers are. Yeah, right here it is. Total expenditures would be 758. Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Well, at least I'm talking for myself.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody else.
So let's see, next on our agenda, we have the community survey. So we closed the survey on August 31st. We ended up getting 514 surveys completed. I'm really happy. My low goal was like 350 and my high goal was 500, so I was really pleased that we beat 500. Especially since our last community survey in 2019, we had just under 500, so, you know, we beat our record. That's my little competitiveness.
Again, it just, is another statement about how the community, feels invested in our library. I think it's a great statement.
So me and Mark and Michaela have been going through the data, and we are developing a booklet. What would you call it, Mark? That we're gonna give to council?
I call it
A report, thank you. We're developing a report to give to council that has all the data in it, for them to look through, before our presentation on the 17th. My plan would be to send that out to you guys too, so you could see it as well. So we're planning to get that out to them tomorrow morning for them to go through. But it's one of those things where I'm really pleased with the turnout with the community survey. At our community open house, we had about 50 people attend last Thursday. We had 3 council members attend as well. We had some really good discussions and conversations, with the patrons that were there. It was nice because there were patrons that I've seen at the library before, and then there was other people that showed up that I had never seen before in the library. I mean, that doesn't mean that they haven't been in the library, but I felt like it brought out a range of individuals, kind of like the soiree. There's people at the soiree that I see that I know are regular library users, and then other people from around the community who aren't, that maybe this is their introduction into the library. So I was pleased with the turnout. Kim was there. We were able to talk to most everybody that came and kind of got their, you know, had a conversation with them, got their feedback. BRCA also had, you know, they had the posters up with the different designs, and then they had a kind of sticker survey at the end where patrons could put a green sticker by what they liked, a red sticker by what they didn't like, and so we were able to, you know, get some data from them that wasn't just, you know, anecdotal, me saying, well, everyone said this.
Right,
We have some data that we can show to council. I wanted to show you guys the 2 conceptual drawings. I know Kim had seen it. Brad, you've seen it. You've seen it too?
Yeah.
Teresa, have you seen the conceptual drawings as well? Okay, I wanted to share them so you guys could see them as well. Okay. So, we've come up with 2 conceptual layouts of the design. Let me see. Pull up my page.
Yeah, it was great to see them at the table at the farmer's market.
Yes. Yeah, I know
That's
that,
just another great avenue for getting information out to the community.
yeah, it was really great with the survey. We were able to take it to the farmer's market. We were able to, Robin went to the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary Club, and invited them to participate in the survey. And then we sent the information out to a lot of the HOAs to like their email lists. So I think that helped with getting the word out on the survey. So BCRA came up with 2 conceptual layouts of the library. This is what the library could look like, and it was basically like a test fit of, can we put a library into this space and what would it cost? Obviously these designs and drawings could change and will change as we bring in our architect. But this design basically has you, this is the front door right here. You're coming in, you come right up to the front desk. Over on the right-hand side, it has our self-check units. It has our library of things collection displayed. And then it has our Friends of the Library book corner, all right up here in this front corner. And then directly back, we have staff work areas. Something I'm really excited about within both drawings is we have an outdoor book drop right here on this corner, and it is a drive-through book drop. So how the lot is set up is perfect because from the street, they have two entrances and exits to the library, is what the church. And so patrons will be able to pull in, drop their books off and pull right back out to the street. It's like already, it's, it's designed perfectly. So, and it's also, I'm really excited because it's helpful for the patrons if you have an outdoor book drop that's just a box, but it's not fun getting the books out of that box in January, you know?
Yeah.
So it drops it right into the library, which I think is amazing. There's also a door right here. So for our deliveries, particularly from, CIN, Chris brings our deliveries every Tuesday and Friday. He can pull his van right up there and drop everything right back into the staff area. So that's really great. It has the kids area right here in the front. Our computer lounges are right here next to the check-in, checkout desk, because that's the main thing we get questions for is, helping with computers. But the majority of the library collection is in the back. So we have the adult collection, the juvenile collection, and the teen collection, all here in the back. And then over here on the left-hand side, we have our meeting room and our programming room. So we're calling our programming room, the programming room, that's where we would do story time, after school programs, adult programs, that sort of thing. And then we have our meeting room that we would have set up more for meetings. We do have it proposed that there's a movable wall so that we could turn this space into a larger space for, about 100 people for something like Halloween or the Friends book sale, or maybe there's a larger community meeting. We can open everything up and have a larger space.
Oh, my mind's visualizing things in that room already.
Yes.
That aren't there.
Yes,
Like a little platform stage for if you brought in an author or somebody like
yes,
that.
yes,
could,
an author
Like
event.
a presentation stage like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that when I came there, to put it on a comment card, but that would be kind of cool.
Mhm. And then right next to it, we have our storage spaces. And then kind of here in the center, we have our restrooms, our Friends of the Library storage and work area. And then we have a lot of our study rooms. So we have 3 study rooms and then one that's set aside as a podcasting studio, where they could, record podcasts, do like a little YouTube video, that sort of thing, with the idea in mind that it could be a study room or an office space, if needed. So it's kind of flexible. We have some staff offices set aside near kind of the collections where they work. So there is an office kind of near the kids area. And then there's an office back here kind of near the teen and juvenile area, so that there's a librarian that can help when people have questions throughout the library. And then we also have kind of a mother's family room set aside right here next to the kids area for nursing, or that a family can go and have some quiet time if they need it.
What does the R stand for again? I didn't catch that.
Sorry, the RR is the restrooms. Am I looking at the right spot?
Right, so we have.
A men's and women's restroom.
Restrooms that we have there?
So let's see, there's 4 toilets in one, and then there's 1 toilet and 2 urinals in the other.
But on the other side, we also have an R&R next to the study room.
Oh, yes, sorry. Those are family restrooms.
Okay. Restroom.
Yes, we have to have a certain number of toilets in the building. But the idea is with both plans that these are doors right here and these are doors right here. So after hours, if you had an HOA meeting or something, they could reserve the meeting room. They can come in after hours. The rest of the library is closed off, but they have access to restrooms, which you need. So sorry, I was looking in the wrong place.
Just trying to, yeah.
Yes.
So I see the library of things area, but are we potentially in the future maybe gonna consider a maker space in there also?
We definitely could. We don't have anything for a makerspace set aside
Mhm.
in this design, but that's definitely a potential.
Mhm.
Yes. This is the conceptual layout number 2. It's, obviously different than the other plan in that, it's flipped. So most of the collections are in the front and the meeting space is in the back. As with option 1, most of the collection was in the back and other stuff was around. So basically with this plan, the, coming in the front doors, the lobby space is pretty similar to the first drawing. As far as staff work areas and that sort of thing. It has the children's collection right here in the same spot, but it flows into the juvenile collection and then flows over to the adult collection. So more of the collections are in the front. We have our programming and meeting room here in the back left corner. The idea with this plan is that this is the outside door over on this side. And so if we have after hours meetings, we can close off these doors right here and these doors right here. So it still is closing it off to the rest of the library and you still have the 2 restrooms available. So it kind of flips where the meeting space and the programming space is for the first plan. Back here, sorry, I scrolled too much. We have our Friends of the Library storage and work area, and then there's also staff storage. These stairs represent the loft space. So currently in the church, they do have an upper loft storage area. So this plan is incorporating that. So where the Friends would have storage down here on the bottom and then up the stairs, they would have loft space.
It's also a mechanical room though, right?
Yes, yes. So in the, somebody pointed out at the open house. This is where all of our mechanicals are housed currently.
Yeah,
And so in this first plan, it's the juvenile collection. So it was pointed out, you'll have to move
right,
all of that, which is very expensive.
right.
So they were like, that is a better use of funds in this plan and that can still stay as the mechanical area of the library as well. So back here we have the 2 restrooms, we have our podcast and study rooms. We have more study rooms and office space here in the back corner. The teens are over here in the right-hand corner, kind of away from the rest of the library, which Michaela is excited about. You know, the teens are, too cool. They want their own space. So they're kind of over here in their own space. There's a study room right here that they could use. And then there's an office space where, that could be the teen librarian's office is right there by the teen collection. Whereas the rest of the collections are up here in the front. And then kind of the computer lounge is the same as in the first plans. The restrooms are, in all plans are in the same spot so that, it's nice to keep plumbing where it already is, and that's how it is in the current church right now. Staff break room, and then, our processing check-in work area. So from the open house, the majority of the votes were for option 2. I think we had 37 votes for option 2 and 13 votes for option 1.
So
So,
we can always meld the 2 together.
yes, I feel like generally kind of, that's generally what happens with different plans, your house.
And maybe some completely different conceptualization, get your architect.
Yes.
in.
Yes. So kind of what we're doing with these is kind of giving a test fit of, can we put a library here? Does it have everything that we want and need in it? How much does it cost? And giving those, so council has something to see when they're setting a budget. It's not just, let's pull a number out of a hat. They have 2 different plans. This is how much they will cost. And,
So
it's
I'm gonna
feasible.
assume that your staff and when you guys were working this all out, that it has everything that you guys would like to have in a new library.
Yes, it does have, most of our needs in a new library. I would say
Okay,
with
so
both
you-
plans, there's still tweaks that definitely need to happen.
Well, you just said something that I wanna you said most. So what are some of the things that you would like to see that aren't in these plans?
I would say that it has everything that we need. Just for me, there still needs to be some tweaks as far as shelving goes.
Okay,
With some of the plans, it's like, there's 50% more kids' books, but only 10% more adult books. And I'm like, can we meld those 2 together?
got it,
Because I wouldn't say we need 50% more kids' books and no more adult books.
got it.
So that's something I feel like we still need to tweak is where the collections are and the amount of shelving.
Got it.
And Jenny, what about a makerspace? I mean, are libraries still putting those in, in your experience with other librarians, getting new libraries and stuff, is that something that people are still putting in to update libraries?
That's something I definitely need to look into more, because I would say it's not something that's been on my radar. I'd like to look through the community feedback and see what the response was as far as makerspace. I know as far as the whiteboard, I had 3 people talk about makerspaces, so I'd be interesting to see what they said in the,
Well, yeah, and that's like the library of things, if you don't know about it, you would
Yeah.
mention it. But
Yeah.
If you heard about it, it's like, oh, that'd be a great idea, we could, you know, you could rent one of the rooms to do that without, you know, people meeting on Friday mornings for knitting or whatever, but,
Mhm.
if there was a dedicated makerspace, I know that's what one of the things that libraries have been including, but I didn't know if that was a trend that was continuing or changing or.
And I think it also depends on how large that library system is. Like I know in King County, Bellevue had the Bellevue City Library, the main branch has a maker space, but all of the other branches within the city don't have a dedicated maker space. And so to some extent, I think it's how big your community is and what that need is. Doesn't Spokane Valley have a maker space too? Or is it just a library of things?
they have a library of things and they have a podcast studio. I don't believe they have a makerspace.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about City of Spokane. I'd have to look and see. I know City of Spokane, that their big downtown has the radio station and they have the YouTube space. They have a music space for music lessons. I don't know if they have a makerspace.
Well, and, you know, people could rent the community's rooms to.
Do like facilitate
Yeah.
a makerspace, but not have it 24/7.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm thinking of, you know, there are some things, you know, library things can be anything. It could be like some sewing machines, I mean, it can be, you know,
Musical instruments.
musical instruments and cookie sheets or cookie cutters and bake, you know, cake pans and tools, you know, you need a cordless drill or you need a, you know, it runs the gamut.
Right.
3D printer.
Mhm.
The, some of the things though, like a 3D printer, you would more likely have at the library in a maker's space.
And not something you
And
rent.
not something
right,
that you
right.
would take home with you. A
Right.
sewing machine can go, stay or go.
Mhm.
It's just, I guess it's a combination of what do we have in the makers? In the library of things
Yes.
and what is the community need and.
Yeah, I know this Saturday, we are doing a Mend It Cafe at the library.
Yeah,
And they are a nonprofit and they're bringing in things. And then our patrons can come and do the Mend It Cafe. I think it's primarily focused on crafting and sewing and that
Yeah.
sort of thing, but that's an example of a makerspace that somebody's bringing in.
The other thing too is, okay, if we're gonna add a makerspace, why do we wanna give up on the plans that we have? And
Yeah.
maybe we don't, and that's.
and it can also be a hybrid.
Yeah.
Like if, like you had said, you can use the space for different things at different time. I could envision the meeting room having a wall of cabinets where you've got your 3D printer and you've got your sewing machines and you've got your other larger equipment that may potentially not be something we check out. And on Tuesdays from 5 to 9, that space is a maker space.
Mhm.
There's options for making it a hybrid meeting area and a maker space, if that's something we think the community wants or needs.
Yeah, that's something that's definitely doable as well, yeah.
All right, thanks for explaining all.
No,
that.
and I just appreciate the discussion and having people point things out, like, did you think about this? Did you think about that?
Sure,
So that's really great.
that's good. All right, anybody have any other comments about the layouts?
No, but they all look like great.
It's exciting.
It's
Yeah.
exciting to see it come out.
Right, yeah,
The only thing I said, and I'll say it again, is that I really would like to see something on the outside of the building that shouts library. You know, that doesn't, so it doesn't shout like, oh, it's a warehouse. I'd like it to really have something, I don't know what that would cost, I'm just saying, it would be nice, I'm sure it would be expensive. But I'm saying, it would just be nice to have it be like,
The public art piece is a giant book.
there you go.
Lawn area.
Something that says library is here, this is Liberty Lakes Library, and we're proud that we have this library here.
The lions outside the New York Public.
Yes.
There you go.
They are very iconic.
There you go.
The New York Public Library Lions. Yes, it was interesting. There was a comment in the survey that someone was saying, I always miss the library because there's no signs and there's trees everywhere. So I always drive right past the library and have to flip around. And that was a comment that someone made about our current spaces.
Maybe
We don't really
just
have like
signage.
A sign out front that says library.
Well, a really nice one.
Yes.
But yeah, I
Something-
agree.
something
Large
pretty,
signage.
yeah.
Maybe sculpture.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, thanks, Jandy. Now
Yes.
you're on to some other part of your report, right? And that is the quarterly report?
Yes, so I wanted to go through the quarterly report and then we'll do the waiver. So I just, I haven't even shown this to Kim yet, or Shauna. I just barely got our quarterly report put together this morning.
You've been busy.
Yes, it's been a busy
It's been busy.
So I wanted to show that to you guys and get your feedback on what I might be missing from the quarterly report. And I'm like, where did I download it?
So I have a question. I can't remember. Help me out, Jandy. Do we have to motion for an extended, meeting, or do we have until 2:30?
We have until 2:30,
Okay.
so we're okay.
Thank you.
No, I'm glad you're keeping track of time. Let's see. So now I have it ready to go. Quarterly report, Board of Trustees. So I have this kind of similar to last year's report. Around this time, I have summer at the library. Our checkouts are up 3,000, 3,000 from last year. I think I mentioned to you guys in July, we had over 10,000 books checked out in the month of July. And that's the highest number I have ever seen. Wow. In my time here. So July was extremely busy at the library.
So those people that say this is becoming more important, library still, books are a big deal.
Yes.
Unlike,
So I see at the top, it's summer at the library, but then I see 2024 and 2023. And then my head immediately went to the whole year and then.
So,
a year
yes,
ago.
I should add a note that says June through August. To clarify that. Read my mind.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask, is that year to date? And I thought, wait,
No,
this is summer.
that's just summer.
Yeah,
So we're up 3,000 checkouts from last year. Our Libby usage is very similar. Our visitors are up
Wow.
1,500
yeah,
from the year prior. And our room reservations are up
almost.
about 25%.
yeah, quite a bit. Yeah.
Yes, so it was busy. We had really great usage. This is our registration for summer reading. About the same number of kids registered last year as did this year. Adults are up. I'm still working on getting their numbers for what they were last year, but I know for sure adults are up at 261. That's a lot of adults to sign up for summer reading. So registration total for the year was 1,239 in 2024. Our finisher walls. So, I wish I would have got a better picture, but each of these shelves down the line were completely full of the buses. Since it was a camping adventure theme this year for summer reading. It looks like our total finishers are down from last year. 120, 246, 48, and 53 finishers for summer reading. It's to note, each of our kids, when they sign up, get 3 prizes. So these are kids that finished all 3 prizes. We definitely had more that finished, just a level 1 or level 2.
How did that thing work out with the hub?
I want to say, I saw the number, I can't remember if it was around 50 for the hub tickets. It's one of those things where my opinion would be, I would ask the friends to sponsor it next year and see how it goes for another year, and then decide if it's something we want to continue with or not.
Got it.
I also want to have a conversation with Lacey at the hub to see how they felt it went on a city, valley, on a
Yeah,
larger
larger,
scale,
larger
kind of get some feedback on how it went. Because we definitely had kids coming in asking for it. I know they did it. A lot of people did City Hall, the library, the police department. So it's one of those things where it was more citywide.
Right.
So it's something I'm definitely wanting to do next year and kind of see how it goes. I would say if, you know, the city and the police department plan to continue doing it, like I will just continue doing it with them as well.
Right.
It's just, I'm curious to see what the statistics were for overall for the valley.
So Jandy, why do you suppose all the categories had fewer finishers than the previous year?
I don't quite know.
Like every category, it's kind of,
Did we have 3 finisher category, like steps last year?
So we definitely had it for each category last year. I can see that we had it for adults, teens, kids.
No, I meant like you said, you could get 3 prizes this year.
Yes, we've always done it as
Okay.
3 prizes, at least for the last 10 years. That's how we've done it.
some checkups are out, they just aren't picking up their prizes.
It might just be that, because yeah, our checkouts are up from what they were last year and our registration is similar to what it was. We even extended, they could pick up their prizes. Normally it's through August 31st, and this year we did it through last week with the first week of school. So,
So it could just be they weren't picking up prizes.
yeah. But I would say overall, like registration and that sort of thing was
There was.
it was a little bit higher than last year, like 20.
And checkouts were up, so.
Yeah,
Participation was definitely up.
yes,
Did they complete it or did
all the
they-
way through,
Yeah.
yeah.
And who knows, they may happen,
it's just-
just didn't come in and pick up their stuff.
And this is for, we keep track of like each kid. There's some kids that did like 6 logs.
Got it.
So they did, there's, you know, it's just, you have different kinds of kids. There's,
Yep.
so this is, you know, that just finished their first log. There's some kids that did 6 logs, some kids that did 3. So just, yeah, it is overall down slightly from last year. Michaela is gonna come, she'll be here at the meeting next Tuesday, you know, with the whole library budget discussion. So I'm planning to have her talk about STEM camp that the teens put on for our younger age kids, ages 8 to 10. So she's gonna talk about STEM camp and what the kids did, what our teen volunteers did. Can you look at what our participation was?
Wow.
It was
Yeah,
really
that's
good.
Amazing, I think, 104 kids, that's
And then-
fantastic.
And then total volunteer hours for the teens, 99 for the month of July. That's huge. Especially if you look, that's spread over 6 kids. So they worked their butts off. And then she's also going to talk about our Teen Tuesday program that she did this summer, where we had teens coming in each Tuesday to do different activities in the library. It went well. She's gonna continue it through the fall and see how it goes. But we're feeling good about it, so she's gonna talk more about that. And then my plan with this, the slide is not finished yet, is to talk about how much money the friends earned at the book sale, how much money they earned at the soiree, and something else that I was gonna post on this page. So talk about what the friends did this summer with the library, and then finish it off with our upcoming Monsters Inc. Halloween party that's gonna be on Thursday, October 24th.
When we talk about the soiree,
Looks good.
I think it would be great to also mention that, what you told us is that you see regular library users there and you see community members just coming out to support the library that don't necessarily come to the library all the time.
Yes, that's a really good, yes.
Well, and I think it'd be a good idea
It's
to-
our community
to
event.
all, it's
Yeah.
it is a community event that includes a range of ages and personalities, and it's a great community event.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard so much positive feedback from it, this past year, so I think people love it. It's wonderful.
And was this the first summer that there's a story walk at Rocky Hill and there's one at Orchard Park? So,
They put in they put in Orchard Parks last October, I
so that
want to
would be a
say.
good summer thing to add for community outreach.
Yes, that's a good idea. I think I'll do a slide on the story walk.
Hmm.
We have it at Rocky Hill. We just put it in at Orchard Park this past October. I can talk about some of the books that we have put in it throughout the year and that sort of thing. Cause I don't think that's something we've highlighted
No.
in our
No.
quarterly report.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like that idea.
good, yes.
And this report is being given next week,
Yes, next
Okay.
Tuesday.
and I think I did volunteer. Is Kim, are you giving? I'm just not gonna be able to be there.
I'll be there,
Okay.
yeah. Cause I'll, yeah, be there.
You'll be helping her with the presentation? Yeah, I'll be there, but I'm not gonna,
You just gotta look good.
I gotta, I'll just be there and if I feel like I need to say anything.
I will try to be online.
So I'll update that with the story walk and then send it out to you, Kim, to take a look through again. Yes. You're always good about like, you spelled that word wrong, you need to shift that over a little bit to the left, like, all of those things where you just kind of get in your tunnel vision and you don't see it
Yeah.
anymore.
Sure.
And then someone else is like,
Yeah,
what
you
is
look at the
going
same
on?
Mistake
Oh, it's
like
not-
30 times and you never
Yes,
see it.
yes.
Well, it looks good. So, so where does the, project is that a separate entity that you and Kim, are you gonna be involved in that project of the presentation, the workshop portion of the presentation to the council? Or is it just the
I
city?
think I'll be there for that, but I think
It's kind of a group effort. So Mark's going to be presenting, Jonathan, our project manager, is going to be presenting, I'm going to be presenting, Kyle will be presenting on the budget portion, and then, Nikki and Amanda, who are our architects and interior designer
Perfect.
firm, will be
Right.
presenting as well. So it's a big group effort.
Good. So are you going to did you say you were gonna send us, a copy of the little booklet thing that's gonna be prepared?
So I was gonna send you a copy of our, survey report that we're giving
Okay,
to
got it.
council.
Got it.
Yeah, with all the details, and statistics from the
Were
survey.
there a lot of written in comments?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I don't know if you're reading all of them. I know for, like at my company, for the employee satisfaction survey, they were able to use AI to summarize all the written comments.
We are definitely doing a mixture of both.
Okay.
We sat down and read through the comments and then have been using that a little bit to formulate it, because I don't want to have to count how many times it's apart, So it's been a combination.
Word maps where
Yeah.
like, this word was used a lot. And this
Yes,
was-
so I know Nikki and Amanda, at BCRA went through and read each of the comments. Me and Michaela went through and read through all the comments
Yeah.
as well. So it's a
It's
group.
hard to summarize.
Yes, so
that
it's
many
been
comments though.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Well, it all looks good, Jandy. Thanks for that work. You've been busy gal.
It's been a busy month, it feels like.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. That's excellent.
Oh, also, we should talk about, how many little friends came to the Touch a Truck Day.
Oh, yeah, we had,
To the presentation.
Oh, in the
Yeah,
presentation, your
The community
presentation.
outreach page where you talk about the books, book walk, was Touch a Truck between the last report and this one?
I don't think I included Touch a Truck. I
You
did, but
get so excited about Touch a Truck.
I do. Touch a Truck and, our phone party. I did not, see you guys,
Yeah,
my brain is not working.
that's okay, we're here to help.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, so I'm gonna mention Touch a Truck and the phone party. And then I'm also gonna mention Miss Erin in 2 weeks is having the firefighters come and do a story time with the kids.
All right.
And they're gonna do a hose demonstration and spray the water
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
at Town Square, so.
Well, that'll be fun for the kids. Yeah, these are all great
This
things.
is
that-
my fault for going off last year's notes because we didn't do touch a truck last year.
Mm.
So I, you know,
No, it's okay.
thank you. Erin, yeah. Kim's like, Jandy, you like to talk about touch a truck. Why are you not talking about it? Okay,
Perfect.
so the last thing I had is our Library of Things waiver.
Right.
So last time we had questions because our waiver has 2 different pages on if we need the 2 different pages. And so I had sent the information over to Sean. And basically what he had said was the first page kind of relates to CIN and then the second page relates more to Liberty Lake. Was that how you thought about it?
So, and then I was recalling later after our last meeting that, oh yeah, we had talked about like if somebody's checking out a CIN thing from our library. But would they be checking out a Library of Things item at Liberty Lake?
Yes, if it comes through shipment, they would.
And so we would be accepting those things for
Yes.
shipment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so we've had a lot of discussions with CIN on items are supposed to be able to go through shipment because we share everything.
Okay.
There are a few things that won't, like a kayak, that can't go through shipment. But everything, they said, you know, we want our collections to focus on things that can go through shipments.
Okay.
The purpose of CIN is to share.
They're gonna have kayaks?
One of the very small libraries has a kayak that was donated that people do come to the library. and
That's
use.
amazing.
But that's just for their library, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
would we put a kayak, you know, like, there's nowhere to put a kayak, so,
So then there's 2 use cases for
Yes.
these forms. If it is a Liberty Lake Library owned Library of Things item,
mhm,
they use the second form.
yes,
Yeah.
but my opinion would be, people just sign both when they first sign, you know what I'm saying? The procedure would be, you wanna check out a library of things item, here's our waiver, sign both pages.
Got it.
Do
So
you get what I'm saying? So
you're
then,
not gonna sue CIN and
you're not gonna sue
us.
CIN and you're not gonna sue Liberty Lake. Does that make sense?
It does, but my concern with having them sign both is there are some similar terms
Mhm.
in both. And
Yes.
so if they're not the exact same and they're signing both, there's room for interpretation as far as which clause applies.
Mhm.
I guess if they come after Liberty Lake,
Mhm.
the Liberty Lake one applies, but if they're going after CIN, then
Mhm.
like, this is to protect us, but my concern is when you have competing forms or competing language, which
Mhm.
one governs in that instance? How did they check it out? As a CIN member or as a Liberty Lake Library member?
So do you think we should have a conversation with Sean? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, should
Yeah.
you, Mark and Sean sit down and go through it?
Well, or just decide on what the process is. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily recommend having everybody, like, and is it just the first use they sign both and then it's a waiver, or is it every checkout at the library and things? Like, what's the process of how they?
I would say the process is they sign it once and then it's
On file,
on file.
and CIN knows it's on file? Is there a way to mark it on file with CIN?
Yes, so in Koha, it has underneath their name, it says, you know, their name, their address, their phone number. There's a box that says LOT waiver,
Oh, okay,
and green means it's been signed and red means it has not been signed.
got it. In every
So-
library,
Yes, everyone has it.
but
So-
that wouldn't necessarily mean if they are say a Coeur d'Alene library patron and they signed the waiver for CIN and then they come to Liberty Lake and want to check out one of our items.
So the process is that the waiver will go on the website. So, sorry, the waiver will go into Koha. So if I'm at Meadowing Falls
Mhm.
and I come up to the desk and I'm like, I have a library of things item. They're like, okay, they pull up their account and they pull up the library of things item. They say, oh, this is Liberty Lakes Library of Things item. here is Liberty Lakes waiver, you need to sign it. And then once they sign it, they can have the item.
Got it. So the
So that's-
CIN one, even though they're checking it out as a CIN member,
Mhm.
in that instance, we would be having them sign the CIN waiver and the Liberty Lake waiver.
That's what I would think is we would have both of our waivers there for them to sign.
See, that's the issue where you're gonna come up with, because they're not checking it out from our library, they're checking it out from CIN. So in that instance, the CIN waiver applies to them and not, they're not checking it out as a Liberty Lake library member.
Mhm.
I think having two forms is gonna do
Yeah.
all the other libraries have two forms? How are they doing it?
So I think like Coeur d'Alene has a form, and I think, Hayden has a form. So maybe it's just still that we have two forms.
Okay, if the other libraries have two forms.
No, I'm saying, I think they have one form, but I think we have two. So maybe I'm just doing this wrong and we just need a Liberty Lake one.
I think it's gonna complicate.
Yeah.
What are the chances that anyone ever sues the city for getting injured using a library thing? Very, very slim. But that's the whole point of having a waiver.
Sure.
And if we're having someone from Coeur d'Alene check out an item from the Liberty Lake Library, they're checking it out as a CIN number, not as a Liberty Lake member.
Well, that's what I would
And they
So
think.
would
I
have
think-
signed the waiver if they had already checked out something in Coeur d'Alene. They would have signed the waiver. In Coha, it says they've signed the waiver.
Mhm.
So in that case, which one,
Mhm.
which waiver applies? Are we also having them sign this? Liberty Lake
So
waiver?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Does the CIN have a waiver that is the same for all libraries?
So they made a waiver for smaller libraries that they could use. They can just, here's our waiver, use it, and it's more general CIN. But a lot of the larger libraries like Coeur d'Alene and Community Library Network have their own waiver. Because I know Coeur d'Alene Library, they're turning one of them to have a specific Coeur d'Alene one, so they have a specific Coeur d'Alene one. I'm wondering if where I got messed up is they gave us the general waiver and then they gave us the city specific waiver and I made it into one. And maybe I should have just made our city specific waiver that's Liberty Lake.
So.
And then it's like if somebody comes from Hayden, we'll have them sign the Hayden one. And if somebody comes from Liberty Lake, they would just sign ours. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, I'm trying to figure this out like Sean is talking about. So if I am a Liberty Lake library patron
Mhm.
and I want to check a library thing out from, let's say, Hayden.
Mhm.
Do you have it at our library that I sign a Hayden,
Yes, so the process would be, the item comes in from Hayden, they come up to the desk to get it. We say, oh, this is a book, this is a waiver from Hayden, you need to sign it. And we would
so you
print it
have,
off
the-
the website and
got
have
it.
them sign
So
it.
you have the waivers available for each library
Yes,
if it's a library of things from one of those libraries, and then I have to sign it.
yes,
Well, then I would think that we would only need one for our library.
yes.
Yeah, and then the CIN.
We don't
one
need-
Wouldn't apply.
Yeah, and the CIN one would not apply. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yes.
Yeah, because if it's a Hayden item, they would sign that you download and have them sign the Hayden one,
Mhm.
not the Hayden one and the CIN one. If
Yeah, they would
it's
just
a
sign
Coeur d'Alene item that they had come.
Right.
And if somebody from a Hayden library came to borrow one of our items, we'd want them to sign the city waiver.
Yes,
If it's one of the libraries that uses the CIN form, we would just download the CIN form from that libraries
and have, yeah,
and have
Yeah.
them.
yeah, I think that's where I was getting confused, is they were sending us two different things. And so I thought we needed two things, but now that we've had this conversation, I'm like, I think the process was, here, if you don't have the capacity to do this, make this your waiver. If you do, and we have legal and we can have someone make a waiver, make a real waiver for your library specifically with your library's name on it and everything.
So
So I
before,
think that's where the
right,
confusion has come.
so before we move forward, we should probably
Yeah.
Let's-
get rid of one of them, just come back with the one for our library that
Yes.
we could,
Yes.
review and.
So
approved.
And
Isn't
I
that
was,
the second page?
Yes, that's what I would think.
We've already have that.
it is, but
But it's still attached to the other one. I'd rather have it just be, standalone.
well, yeah, yes,
It
if
is.
we get, it is standalone, there's two standalone forms, but our form does not have a guidelines for borrowing and use and care and use,
Mhm.
whereas their form does. Do we have that already incorporated in our collections policy or our, do we need that on the form that it's our library specific?
I don't know.
If we're not using the other one, do we, well, I mean, it's not required, but it does say like. It. Well, I guess we don't need that guidelines that you have to check it out from the service desk and that you have to have a library card, all of that, that's fine. But the care and use care when handling, return the item with all parts and components intact, clean and in working order. Do we really need that? I don't necessarily know. But it does have the, I agree to pay all repair and or replacement costs, and I don't think ours. Oh, yeah, okay, I agree to return the thing as in good order and condition when we receive it, except for reasonable wear and tear, and if returned unclean, I may be charged a cleaning fee. So it looks like that whole care and use has it. We already have policies on our website of what, in order to check anything from our collections out, you have to have a card and be in good standing and all of that. So I think we're covered there. Sorry, I'm just,
No, you're good.
it's like
Processing.
processing, if we're getting rid of one, are we covered in the other?
Got it.
And it looks like we are. And Sean's already reviewed it with the premise of if it was checked out from the library, from our library, the one that covers us is that second page. And he was good with that.
Yes, he was good with both pages. He said his understanding was, because I had Spokane County Library District in it as a mistake, that he thought it was with Spokane County Library District. So he took it as the first one was the county and the second one was us.
Yeah.
And so that's why he was okay with it. So I would like to run it through him one more time with clarity, like,
Yeah.
this is just for us. This is just us. Does this one single page cover us? And then bring it back to the next meeting.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna propose that maybe we just do that.
Okay.
And, if you guys are all right with that, I mean, it's not something we need to have right away. But if you're okay with Jandy, again, taking what we have said at the second page and making that our form, and then we can approve it at the next meeting.
Mhm.
Are we, everyone okay with that? Are you okay with that up there?
Teresa, are you good? Yeah, she's nodding. She's good.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I feel like I'm overly complicated.
No, but it's a process and I want it to be right.
No, I think it's important to have this nailed down because.
the right
I mean,
way, yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're, checking out, things.
This is a new thing,
It's
right?
different than a book. Yeah, so, okay, so we can table this particular action item for the next meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do we have anything else, Jandy, I don't have anything else on our agenda.
No, I think that's everything.
Yeah. Pretty busy month.
Yes.
All right, anybody else have anything, that they would like to comment on before I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Then we have the next meeting is
Is,
October 9th.
Is it,
October 9th.
October 9th?
Yes.
And then next city council meeting is next Tuesday.
Yes, we have the 17th and then October 1st.
And the 17th is our quarterly report.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. We're good. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
4 minutes.